Welcome to more World of Warplanes content from the Noble Q, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the German Tier 10 multirole, the BV P.215.02. Here we are on the tarmac outside my hangar, and we're looking at the BV P.215.02, a German multirole at Tier 10. And these aircraft, there are three similar sorts of types in the game, are often called bat wings. Well, in my opinion, this one's more like a flying brick than it is a bat. We'll discuss that in a moment. Let's see how I've set this up. This currently isn't specialised, so what I've done is I've put on a gun sight, I've put on a lightweight wing frame. Whether that's going to survive specialisation is a moot point, and an uprated engine. And when it comes to specialisation, I can go one of two routes. I can either improve the manoeuvrability, which is pretty shocking, and therefore I'll be seeking to outturn other aircraft of exactly this type. That would mean that lightweight wing frame will stay on, and I'll put a lightweight power unit there. However, I'm giving serious consideration to emphasising the speed characteristic of this plane, and if I decide to do that, then I'll be looking to put on a polished skin and a combined ejection boost system for better boost performance, although I'll lose a little bit of boost for that. For the outboard weapon, I will probably put reinforced bolt carriers on in order to try and reduce the reload speed, although to be fair, the ground attacking capability of this aircraft isn't that great and isn't a significant factor. As it's a two-seat aircraft, I have for consumables medical kit, pneumatic emergency control system. Again, I probably will replace that with the pneumatic control assist, which is what I was about to say, for a little bit more manoeuvrability. I've got a bob for manual engine restart here. Well, I'm actually immediately going to change that for engine cooling. That's a setup dating back from 2018, I've just realised. Universal ammunition here, and improved fragmentation will go in here, and that is unlocked. So why am I making this video? Well, straight up, it's a bit of vanity. When I've acquired this aircraft back in probably April or May of 2018, I absolutely hated it, and I was awful in it. So much so that I would have described this aircraft as probably one of the worst tier 10s in the game, unhesitatingly. And I've picked it back up again as I'm attempting to specialise it, and I'm clearly a lot more capable in this game than I was then. As the rest of this video will demonstrate, it's a decent battle coming up. This is just to mark my progress. If you don't want to look at a spreadsheet for the next few minutes, and I understand many of you might not, use the links below the video to skip ahead to another section. But let's go and look at those numbers. So here are the statistics for all of the Tier 10 multiroles, with the BV P.215 in columns C and D. All of the other multiroles occupy two columns off to the right. These are the main attributes that you can see in the Hangar UI, and the information, the statistics are in this body here. Very quickly, configuration is stock in all cases, ordnance where available is mounted, no equipment is mounted, the pilot has been sent to the barracks, but all the modules are top. What do these numbers tell us? Well, the one I want to draw your eye to immediately is survivability. This is best in class by some distance, and that slug of hit points there, 800, is actually getting up for the same as the heavies at Tier 10, or two of the heavies at least, the ME262 and the XF90. The Javelin's a whole different matter. And that will give you a clue as to how I think this aircraft is best flown, but more on that in a moment. Gun armament is supposedly third best in class. Well, that's probably true. It has 420mm cannons, capable of doing 800 DPS per second, and a pretty good burst length, 4 or 5 seconds with your initial volley. And it also has the nicety of a rear gunner, which none of the other multiroles have. You're not going to deter much unless it's badly damaged, to be fair, with 128 DPS, but it's better than nothing. If we look at ordnance, this is a unique selling point for this aircraft. The 56 R4Ms, which fire in 6 volleys, and these are air-to-air rockets. So anything coming right at you is probably going to regret it, provided you've got your air-to-air rockets. There is a limited capability for attacking a ground target, probably 1 gun emplacement with these 4 rockets, maybe 2 if you're lucky. If we look at airspeed, it's Not too bad compared to the other multi-roles, probably a little bit sluggish. The boost duration is decent at 20 seconds, and the boost max speed is fairly nice at 596, but you're not really competitive in terms of speed with, say, the Hunter, the Cutlass, and the Thunderstreak. If we look at manoeuvrability, it's all bad news here. This thing is a flying brick, as I said earlier in the video, and you don't want to be engaging at all in term fights with other multi-roles, and certainly not fighters. And that's another reason why you want to be picking off targets that are in a low energy configuration or are bombers or heavies, and whittling them down with this reasonable DPS. Don't get too excited by the altitude performance. It may be green here, but that's compared to the other multi-roles. There are plenty of other aircraft that are going to get above this, and you're not going to be able to use altitude as an advantage in most cases. So that combination of manoeuvrability and survivability, bad manoeuvrability I should say, definitely makes me think that you want to try and fly this very similar to a heavy. You want to keep it as high as possible, you want to keep it as fast as possible, you want to pick off targets that are less manoeuvrable than you or in a low energy configuration and use that DPS to its best advantage. I think that's enough on the numbers. So what we want to do now is see this plane in battle and see what it can do. So here we are on the Road to Rome map. It's the Call of Duty variant. It's a 5-sector map with the sectors roughly set out in the 5 spots of the die configuration. It's slightly offset with a central repair airbase, which is therefore both strategically and tactically the most important sector on the map. Tactically because it's central and allows access to all of the other sectors quite easily. And strategically, not only does it provide the 3 resources every 5 seconds, but the familiar ability to select it as a spawn point, which when in the middle of the map is a particularly powerful characteristic. You can select a different aircraft to the same tier, or you can fully repair your current aircraft. And then the garrisons outlying on the periphery convey 3 resources every 5 seconds. There are 2 ways to win on this map, which is to hold the garrisons and the airbase. It is possible to win, however, if you hold at least 3 of the garrisons, or preferably 4, and confine the enemy to holding the airbase. That is a possible tactic, and it's one to bear in mind when you're faced with aircraft that look like they could take an airbase and then defend it successfully. Talking of the aircraft, it's time to look at the order of battle. And as we can see, I'm in my BV P.215.02, of course, and I have a Hunter for company. Against us, we have a flight, an ME-262 and an IL-40P. And on the face of it, I would say that the order of battle favours the enemy team because they have the ground attacking capability, and a well-flown ME-262 is a serious threat to both myself and the Hunter. Let's see how it works out. So in this battle, even though the order of battle seems to favour me going to the airfield, I thought I'd play it canny and take one of the garrisons first, so I could see what was developing at the airfield before I went there. Remembering this aircraft is not that manoeuvrable, I wanted to have the advantage of knowing what I was flying into at the airfield when I chose to go there. So at the garrison, I'm looking to contest the heavies rather than the light fighters. And you can see how easily I stripped down that air defence heavy with these rather good guns. 800 DPS, but good burst at me. 4 or 5 second bursts on the first volley, certainly possible. And you can do a little bit of damage with the rear gunner as well. And as the Spitfires are occupied at the moment, I decide to take a chance, an opportunity rather than a chance to take one of those out. And we have our garrison. Just sneaking in a final little bit of damage on one of the enemy, the air defence heavy, and now I swing towards the airfield. It's not looking too bad, but the enemy have got the advantage currently. They're more than halfway to taking the airfield, and in fact they have taken it into, as I fly towards it. However, the aircraft are quite widely dispersed. Isolated is good for this aircraft. I'm able to fly behind a Cutlass and destroy it easily. Swing round fairly slowly and look for the next target. As things stand, at the moment it's not looking particularly good. The enemy is certainly using its ground attacking capability to good effect and has 3 sectors to 1. Find an isolated target again. And Swift is much more manoeuvrable, but chooses to keep on flying away from me because I've done 2 critical hits to it. It becomes a victim. Hornet flies in front of me, a target of opportunity, which I also dismiss. Similarly with the Spitfire. And with those kills, I'm relieved to see that we've taken the airfield. And I've ended up on a J7W3 as well. Now, I know I've got the engine as I go past, do a little bit of damage with the rear gunner, and then I fly away from it. Once I'm 2100 feet away, it's not likely to hit me with the cannons. I can fly to this garrison, try and work over the cutlass again. It takes me a little while to get my shooting eye in, but eventually I destroy the cutlass. But again, we're 3 sectors to 1 down. Destroy the F-84B, and now it's time to use the rockets. Don't mess around. Now, looking at that on the replay, I can see that possibly I could have just fired 2 rockets and possibly saved 2 for another gun emplacement. So that's something to bear in mind. The harassed I-215 flies towards me. I do most of the damage to it. And then I decide that I'll fly towards the enemy spawn, because why not? Well, why not is because the enemy will be flooding out of the spawn, and if you engage an aircraft, you're likely to be engaged by another one of the enemy aircraft. And because I missed my rockets, that was a key moment. I decided not to turn for the Cutlass, but instead go for the J7W3, which I regard as a greater threat. But the Cutlass has got good guns as well, and also lots of speed. It follows me up and destroys me. Do not fly to the enemy spawn. So we managed to spawn the airfield, which we're just hanging on to, although my team have now managed to capture a couple of garrisons. However, we immediately lose the airfield. I have a Swift in front of me again, which I dispose of, and then I fly away from the airfield because it has almost all of the 30 seconds lockdown time to elapse. So I decide that I will try and take a garrison and get us 3 sectors to 2 up. I'm able to take on an air defence Spitfire and destroy it immediately, and then similarly take on an ME-262, trying to stop it from shooting down my bomber, and I managed to do that, and in doing that the sector becomes ours, and we now have that situation I talked about at the start in strategy and tactics. We have all 4 garrisons, and the enemy is confined to holding the airbase. Now, provided we can hang on to these garrisons, that is a winning position. However, we can also now flood the airbase and possibly overwhelm the enemy. In my case, I decide to attack the Junkers 287 to stop it taking one of the garrisons. As this is a bot bomber, I don't mind flying behind it. I miss with the rockets, or possibly just clipped it with 1 rocket there and take it out before it can do anything. Fly past the LA-160, shoot it with the rear gunner for a little while. Having obtained some distance, I turn, but I obviously set it on fire and it was destroyed. So now I'm going to take out the other bomber before that can assault this garrison. And in the meantime, my team has flooded the middle and taken the airbase as well. So what didn't look like a particularly promising position at the start of the game has now swung full circle, and we have the advantage. Now, the virtue of not simply defending sectors should be apparent. We were 3 sectors to 1 down. It would have been foolish to try and defend what we had. I've put this aircraft about the map, and I've attacked a number of sectors. And pretty much that's a component of heavy play, and I've recommended to you that you try and play this somewhat like a heavy at least. Now come back to the airfield. I'm seeking repairs, because I want a full health aircraft for what is approaching the end game. I'll find the Swift again. very good gun, set him on fire and he explodes. Now I can pick up my repairs. And the scoreline is in. We are now in the end game. Whatever I shoot down stays down, and if I get shot down, I can take no further part in the game. And the ME-262 chooses to come in on a bombing run. Well, I think that was a mistake. He should have come after me instead, because I do have enough speed with boost, especially as I've now shot out his engine, to stay with him long enough to do serious damage to him. And as you can see, even at 2,600 feet, I've done 3 criticals to him, most important of which is the engine. So I decide to hunt him down before that engine comes back. Now he's actually managed to clear all of his critical damage, but I've got so close and he has slowed down so much, I'm able to shoot him down. And that's an important kill. So now I come in to defend the airfield. I'm sure the chat from the ME-262 that just came on screen was complimenting me on a very fine game. The Winged Legend notification goes through, and also the Hero of the Sky. I'll make sure I don't fly at the I-211. It'd be a disappointment if I were to start shooting at it and then it was able to hit me with its sniper gun. I'm able to get round behind it. It straightens up and I finish it off. To emphasise the victory, I decide to head towards the garrison, intending to try and get superiority, but my team managed to get it before. And I believe that my hunter colleague has used his ordnance to very good effect to counter the ground attacking capability of the IL-40P. This is a very good win as far as I'm concerned. A, because I'm not very good in this aircraft, or historically I haven't been good in this aircraft, and B, because we looked like we were overmatched by aircraft better suited to the map. I was pleased. Here we are with the battle results, and as we can see from the centre, it's a 5 chevron battle, or a grade 1 multi-role fighter if you prefer. 147,235 credits gross, of which 49,000 approximately were due to the premium account. Pop into the message box, we can see that I spent 11,400 on repairs. The aircraft was lost once during the battle. 13,872 XP with bonuses, the first win of the day plus the premium account bonus. 693 free XP with the premium account bonus as well. No tokens on this occasion, but a couple of epic achievements, Winged Legend and Hero of the Sky. Both of those I earned earlier in the day, hence no tokens on this occasion. We go into the personal score tab. We can see that 2 of the class specific missions aren't quite complete, but with the complete one here, capture points received, I managed to amass enough points to get the 5 chevrons. 17,025 personal points, which, believe you me, in this aircraft is really good for me. Otherwise, for other players, perhaps a decent game and no more than that. 4 sectors captured, so I did put the aircraft about the map quite a lot. 17 aerial targets destroyed. 9,576 damage to aerial targets. 28 critical hits, which is quite nice for those cannons. Lost the aircraft once, got too near to the spawn point of the enemy, as you saw. 600 capture points received. They were split 240 for defending and 360 for attacking. 1 ground target destroyed for 3,382 damage. And if we turn to the team score tab, we can see, closing that, we can see that was enough both by personal points and by chevrons to be first on the team. Really good contribution from the hunter, also getting 5 chevrons and a Winged Legend. Decent effort from the flight on the enemy team, the ME-262 and the IL-40P, both getting over 10,000. No disgrace there, but I'm happy with that win. That concludes my look at the Tier 10 German multi-role, the BV P.215.02, which has good guns, air-to-air rockets, and an unusually high hit point pool for a multi-role. However, it has very limited manoeuvrability, and therefore I've recommended that you fly it as a pseudo heavy. Well, I hope you found that interesting and enjoyable, and if you did, that you'll come back and see my future content. But until then, this is the Noble Q signing out.